welcome to the Digitize Fully Charged Podcast. My name is Niall and I'm joined as always by Pam Curry. Now today's guest is the fantastic Tavs Laurie. I've known Tavs for a number of years. We both work together at the same local authority, supporting all the other educators throughout lockdown. So this is where I first discovered Tavs' incredible ability to use digital tools to support everyone, and also his amazing ways of using Google Sheets. He's an absolute star at Google Sheets. So without much further ado, let's jump in and meet Tavs.
Super excited tonight to be joined by Tavs Laurie from Highland Council. Tavs, do you want to introduce yourself to our audience and just tell us a bit about you and where you're from, where you're at, what you do, what your kind of view on life and tech and all that good stuff is?
Oh, will do. Well, first of all, thank you for having me on. It's a privilege. Well, I am originally from Denmark. I was educated to be in secondary education, mainly. Although the educations are very different from the Danish to the Scottish, but nonetheless, it was secondary education. And then when we moved to Scotland, which we did in 2015,
Okay.
there was no history teaching jobs in the Highlands, and that was really my passion. And we wanted to stay in the Highlands.
Sure.
So I thought, why not give primary a go? My qualification allowed me to both do secondary and primary, so I started that. I haven't looked back since. It has been absolutely amazing being in primary education. And I think one of the features I really like about primary education is that you get instant feedback from pupils. They are literally not holding back on anything. You know whether or not you have done a good job or you haven't, because they will tell you. Where in secondary, you don't always get that same feedback. You could have had a really good lesson, but you might not necessarily know it until the term review comes in or something like that.
Yeah. Or 15 years later when you meet a former pupil in a supermarket and they tell you they remember you and they'll never forget you and whatever else, and you're like, I had no idea.
No, that's how I got into primary education. And then I have worked as a teacher in various different Highland schools, into a principal teacher position, and that is just around COVID.
Okay.
And around COVID, we also obviously had to become incredibly resilient, resilient and flexible.
Yes.
And one of those sort of approaches that we had to take was to develop a digital pathway to deliver the curriculum. And me and Niall were both on this fantastic group of educators who were in the process of developing this approach. And we worked really hard council-wide to create both training opportunities, even just videos that educators could use. A lot of those videos actually after lockdown has also been utilized, and it has been really nice to see that it wasn't just for lockdown that it was beneficial, but it actually changed some of our whole approach, especially in Highlands, to how we use digital tools. And we developed that skill set for a lot of teachers.
Yeah.
That's amazing. I didn't know that's how you guys met. That's brilliant.
That was how we met. Doing all the online trainings. Once I'd scheduled all the work for the day and completed all my video calls, we would hop on and have a wee digital discussion, chat about the new tools we've been trying out, playing with.
Absolutely.
So that was how we met. I remember just when you were saying there about the videos still being used. We were at an event for South Lanarkshire, and there was somebody there that we walked in the room and they turned around and they went, "It's you!" And I'm like, "What?" And it turned out that this person had used all of our videos during lockdown for their classes and working with their classes. They were like, "I feel like I know you."
I know.
That's so funny.
It's amazing, you still get hits on some of those videos, and you can see which ones have been used, obviously a lot. So that's great. I had a similar situation, not necessarily with someone recognizing me, but I had a lot of social media contact, especially during lockdown and the month after that, from various different educators across different councils who had said, "Oh, this person is doing amazing things. Look into that person.
Yeah.
So it was quite nice to see that you were not just recognized within the council, but it actually went wider than that as well. So
Yeah,
that was nice.
absolutely.
That's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
Lockdown for us people that were into the ed tech world, lockdown was just a crazy time, wasn't it?
Yes.
It was
I
just
know.
bizarre. I remember being on like video calls with like really senior ranking council officials and things on Sunday mornings and stuff. Like it was
Yeah.
just bizarre time.
Just wild.
Bizarre.
So I
Yeah.
think
Bizarre.
this is where we have to credit Robert Quigley as well, because he had started a
Yeah.
podcast during lockdown where he was interviewing lots of different people, and
Did
so
he?
I guess he's kind of inspired us to create our own version. So I
Yeah.
guess we do have to give him out a wee shout out. But I remember sitting and watching and looking at the view count for everybody that he'd interviewed. It was all kind of the local digital team that that he built, and going, oh, am I going to get more views than this person, or who's watching my videos? Have we had any comments today? Just trying to watch it go up.
Such boys.
I spent however long time it was, but just speaking about Google Sheets. That was all I spoke about. So
Tavs, where are you now then? What is your head teacher? Is that right?
I got into a head teacher position in 2022. I started in a different school, in a cluster, 2 schools, down in the Cairngorms.
Mm-hmm.
2023, I moved to this particular school which is a very tiny, remote, off-grid school where there's no
Wow.
vehicular access, and we have 8 pupils. So it's a very different
Really
scenario.
unique. Yeah, absolutely.
Very unique.
Wow. And does that come with, I guess, challenges as well as benefits, I suppose, eh? 'Cause in some ways,
Absolutely.
they're still entitled to the same education experience, aren't they? But you've only got like,
Absolutely.
well, is there other staff or is it just you?
Due to obviously the head teacher position, having some management time is incorporated into that. So
Sure.
Yeah.
I job share with another teacher who comes in and cover my management time. But obviously the challenges are that because it's an off-grid peninsula where there is no vehicular access, you kind of have to live here in order to work here.
Sure.
Yeah.
And the other teacher doesn't live here, so she travels over and then stays overnight and lodging with someone. And that works
Wow.
really well. But come winter, it can be quite problematic because you have to cross with boat to get here, and obviously wind and tide and
Yes.
daylight and all those
Whoa.
kind of things plays a vital role in whether or not the deliverance of the curriculum is achievable.
Yeah. Currently trying to work out kind of what your digital tools that are available to you are. Do you have strong Wi-Fi connection? Are you using satellite for your Wi-Fi? Like how is all this powered?
Actually, as of today, we have just upgraded our Wi-Fi system in the school, and it's now satellite. Prior to that,
Good
it
timing.
was I know. Prior to that, it was I can't even remember what it's called, but it bounced off various different places. So strategically, there was various different connections that was
Sure.
placed across the coast on the west coast here, and we were reliant on a different school to have their electricity and Wi-Fi up and running, and then it would bounce to us, and then it bounced off to another connection, and then that bounced to another school. So if
Wow.
one school didn't have, then none of us had.
No, then it's
So
just everyone out.
but saying that, we haven't had a single issue. It has been it's remarkably good connection considering the remoteness that we are in, and digitally wise, it allows us to fully embrace the digital technologies and use
Yep.
those, utilize those
Yeah.
both in the actual classroom, but
Yeah.
also outside the classroom.
That's
That's
incredible.
amazing. It's such a story, eh?
How far away are you from the nearest school? Or like you said, you aren't able to take like cars up to the school. Like how far away are you from others?
Our closest school is Olipool Primary School,
Right.
and it is in a direct line 7 miles away.
Sure.
If you
Wow.
have to get there, then you, however, need to get down to the jetty, which you can use a quad or jeep or something
Mhm.
that you have ferried across here. Then you have to take the boat across. Then you have to drive. That is almost 40-mile drive. So even
What?
though there's
Ooh.
only 7 miles in direct line, you still have to go a 40-mile round tour to get
Oh my
there.
word.
This is going to blow
That's,
people's minds.
I know.
Like, see if you're somewhere like really kind of busy and like metropolitan and you're listening to
No,
this, you'll be like, what? Welcome to Scotland.
I love it. Yeah, I absolutely love it. And I think it's fantastic to have that different perspective as well that you're going to be able to bring to
Yeah.
us. Because so many of our schools and educators are based in large cities and spaces where you have access to actually a lot
yeah.
of what you're needing around you. I think this interview is going to be great for just giving a different perspective. I'm imagining you've got a lot of outdoor learning going on. How are you able to merge that outdoor learning with the digital learning? Are there many connections
Yeah,
there?
that's a good question.
Are you taking digital tools out with you to beaches, to the open areas? How are you using the
Yeah,
tools?
I think it's a very nice question because it allows me to explain it very well. So as you know, probably why you have me on this podcast as well is that I'm very digitally oriented,
Yes.
and one of the things that that I really like is to utilize the outdoors and then combine it with the digital. So we have various different school phones where we have apps such as that can identify plants. So actually, even earlier today, we were out and we were trying to create a picture of our biodiversity in the local environment around our school ground
Mhm.
and sort of just around that. And it was fantastic to utilize the digital tools for this because we could both take photos of all of our plants and
Yeah.
wildlife around us, but we
Yeah.
could also identify what kind of plants they were using various different identifier apps.
Cool.
But not only that, we can also use it to survey and actually make beautiful graphs with digital tools to create an overview over our biodiversity and have a really clear picture of where we are at with it.
Brilliant.
It doesn't have to be in the classroom sitting and coding, right? Like to me,
No.
that's not digital. It's part of it, but it's not
Yes.
digital tools on how to always
Exactly.
utilize it.
And that's
Yeah.
a really
Yeah.
important point, actually, because I think it sometimes gets lost that there's this
Mhm.
big, massive focus on coding, 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 but
Yeah.
it's not necessarily the skills most businesses are looking for these days.
Mhm.
No, I think it's more, in my opinion, it's more how do you utilize the tools that you have available to you and how you can enhance the learning opportunities that you
Yeah.
have in front of you, such as, for
Mhm.
example, outdoor learning. How can you utilize it to best create this? Like we could have gone out and we could have taken the photos, we could have brought them back. Let's just say we took the photos and we took them back to the
Mhm.
classroom and then had to look up in a book and try to identify them. Yes, good, amazing, and that's also a skill to use.
Yes.
But when you have it available to you, when you have it, and the purpose of it is to go out and identify or figure out what is the biodiversity of our playground, then if you have to then go in for every single plant, figuring out, oh, is this actually the same as this plant, and so on,
Yep.
it then it defeats the purpose of the actual lesson, and therefore the digital tool is enhancing what the actual purpose of the lesson is.
And actually, that's a skill that we need in life, isn't it? To know when and where is the appropriate time to bring in digital
Yeah.
technology. Like
Yeah.
the rest of us don't sit constantly using digital technology. We have to think and we have to solve problems. And yeah,
Mhm.
Mhm.
that's a kind of. So did you say that you had school phones?
So we have used as part of our school funds to purchase smartphones,
Mhm.
Yeah,
which allows us to have multiple apps available to us for usage in the school, and obviously also all the features that comes with a smartphone has enabled us to utilize these phones for having the pupils actually engaging with the technology.
Yep.
yeah.
I have seen so many times that a lot of schools are banning phones,
Yes.
and
Yeah. I love
I
this chat.
and it's one of those things that you have to figure out, like, for what is the
Yeah,
reason for banning the phones, and obviously it comes with pros and cons and all these kind of things. But in this way, we have then allowed the kids access to phones
yeah,
in a safe environment. It's
Yep.
not even on their account. It's on a school account. So
yeah.
any pictures that's taken is going to the school account, and it
Fascinating.
means that we can control what apps are using and everything. But they still get the teaching of how to use a phone, how to utilize the different apps, how to enhance their learning experience and use it in an appropriate way.
That do you know
Yeah.
something? That's like a piece of thinking that hadn't actually entered my head as a solution here. That because we like there's all the talk about one-to-one devices, and it's always
Yep.
iPads or laptops, and the big mobile phone bans are happening in so many schools. But
Hmm.
like you've taken away a huge part of that problem. Like you've taken away all of the problem, really, because the
Yep.
problem is video and teachers and deep fakes and whatever else, isn't it? But like, if they're school-owned phones, that's genius. I really
Yeah.
love that
Yep.
as a solution to your unique situation.
Yeah,
That's
and
amazing.
you've
Yeah.
turned this device that is a very personal thing into an educational tool. So it's not just mixing up the personal applications, messaging, all the kind of
Yeah.
personal side with the education thing, where things can get muddied. You are purely making it an educational tool where students can learn how to use that and how to be connected using this device. I think that's fantastic.
So that's really
Absolutely.
interesting.
Yeah.
And it also allows, and due to the fact that we are living off grid and with no vehicle access, it also means that not necessarily all the children, but some of the children here, they don't have regular access to, for example, phones. They don't have regular access to
Sure.
all of these tools. So in this way, we're also enabling them to have some contact with some of these technologies and showing them what they can be utilized for.
Yeah.
And again, also almost preparing them, because at some point they are probably going to come across phones. But
Yeah.
instead of saying, "Oh, this is a separate thing that the parents have to deal with on their own," now
Yeah.
we are embracing it and we are saying, well, actually, if they for the first time see the phones and they see it in an educational setting and they see it in an educational light,
Yep.
then they will automatically also associate that phone, hopefully, with a tool
Yeah.
rather than
Yes.
a friend. I don't know if that's the best term, but
Yeah, no, I know
like,
exactly what you mean.
I know
Yeah.
what you mean as
yeah,
well. I mean, like how we use phones in our work. Like Niall and I are forever jumping between doing things on our
Mhm.
phone and the computer, and it's just part of your toolkit, isn't it? It's a really
it
essential
is.
part
It is.
for
Yeah.
videos and audio and whatever else. It's
Yeah.
just I love that. Did you get any opposition from parents and
No opposition from the parents. I think they are very much on board with the idea that it's used as a tool, an
Yeah.
educational tool that will enhance the learning.
There has to be somebody that tries something new, and something that is gonna make a difference, and the fact that it's working for you just shows how much effort
yes?
you've put into it, how much thought you've put into it, and that you're using them effectively as well. This is what happens when you're being
Yeah,
innovative.
Absolutely. And it is about being innovative. You do need to think outside the box sometimes, and you do need to take the initiative to actually go and do something new so that you can also showcase how it can be utilized.
Yeah.
yeah.
And that it's a safe place and safe environment and it's safe.
Taus, has anyone ever told that story? Like, have you ever blogged about that or anything? Or because I do think that's really interesting, especially in light of this. Like, I think that's like media interesting.
Yeah, yeah. Perhaps that is
Maybe, maybe we could get you to do a
Yeah.
guest blog post on our Digitize blog. That would be great if we
Yeah.
could
Yeah, we'd
sort
love to
that
hear
out.
all about it.
Just guest blog, it would be great. I
Yeah.
think it would be. It's an interesting debate, and you've got a very unique solution to what's becoming a bigger problem in schools.
I want to hear. I've got a question for you. You've mentioned being off grid. What does that mean for the school? Are you haven't used solar panels for electricity? Are you using generators? What like are you near farms? Are
Ah.
you growing your own food and vegetables? What does an off grid system for a school look like?
Right. So our off-grid system consists of a wind turbine.
Right.
So we have a wind turbine and we have 24 solar panels,
Mm-hmm.
and then we have a backup generator.
Sure.
So
Wow.
those are our power supply.
Mm-hmm.
Generally speaking, it's usually windy enough for us to have plenty of power.
Yeah.
So,
Sure.
but obviously, it's always at the back of your mind that
Sure.
there can be a situation, because if we do not have electricity, because we are on this peninsula where the topsoil is very it's not very thick, so also water is a massive issue. So we have a borehole in our school,
Oh my
Okay.
goodness.
the school grounds. So this means that if electricity goes, then we don't have running water, we don't have any water to flush the toilets, we don't get any of our heating on, because that's
Yeah.
through a boiler that obviously runs on electricity as well. We will have no Wi-Fi, and then on top of that, then there is the electricity. There's no, so this means that there is no option to sort of say, oh, we're just going to put in some extra stuff or some electric heaters
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
anything like that. Like it's gone. If it goes, it's gone.
Sure.
And then
Oh my goodness.
our relocation option is the community center, but it takes a few hours because we have to put an open fire, a wood burner on. So
Sure.
it takes a wee while before
Yeah.
that gets heated up.
Especially in January as well. That would be
Indeed, and
particularly
that's
busy.
usually when it goes.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, of course
uh,
it is. Oh my goodness. So yeah, there are occasions where there's nothing fully charged in your school because there's no power.
There's just no
That's
chance. Yeah.
fascinating.
Yeah. It's incredible.
Well, we move on to chat about two major letters in our lives, A and I.
yeah,
because I've noticed on Towsie's LinkedIn over the last wee while, he's been posting a few bits and bobs about a couple of things really, especially about AI, but also about what AI means
Yeah.
for our education system. And I think that's like where we're at really. Interestingly, in England, the Department for Education this week, in fact today I think,
Yeah.
have published guidance for schools on the use of AI. Nothing
yeah,
like that from Scotland as yet,
Yeah.
but the conversations are happening. So what I found, one of your posts on LinkedIn, Tice, was about this idea of text. Are we the last generation that's going to use text? That's a question, isn't it? Because
yeah,
I listened to a TED Talk podcast this week, and it was with the guy who invented synesthesia. Do you know synesthesia, the video AI
Yeah.
app?
Yep.
So, and this guy was saying that we might be the last generation to use text because video is actually a much more effective method of communication when
Okay.
we think about the body language and the subtle nuances of tone and all of those things. I mean, emojis do okay, but
Yeah.
they don't manage what video manages. And so I think that's a really interesting thing to ponder. Like
Yeah.
when you think about it, like is text just going to become like hieroglyphics?
Well, I mean, if a picture speaks 1,000 words, how many words does a video
Yeah,
speak?
exactly.
well, yeah. So obviously the whole post was sort of to create some sort of, it was a bit thought provoking,
Yeah.
Yeah.
It definitely was.
and the idea was mainly just to get people thinking about, like, what does it actually mean in terms of writing, and is it a skill that is essential? Is writing necessary? Is it an essential skills that we have to teach?
Yeah.
I don't know.
There we
I
are.
don't
There's the
I don't
question.
know either.
Yeah, from a creative point of view, I think it's an amazing way of expressing yourself.
Yeah.
Absolutely amazing, and don't doubt that for a second. I also see the benefit. I myself write a lot of
Hmm.
handwriting for my notes,
Same.
because it's just a really good way of doing it.
Yeah.
But I still question whether or not it's a necessity for
Yeah.
every child to have to achieve.
Interesting.
I had this chat with my mum a few months back about this whole idea of like text and writing, and her response was, "How will you write a birthday card?" And I was like, well, I mean, Moonpig.
You know,
Is that top of the list? Is that the
I
only
mean,
reason that we write?
that was her top reason, a birthday card.
yeah,
But
Oh,
yeah,
yeah, it's a fascinating. I mean, these are the conversations we need to be having, though.
yeah.
Like, we need to be having
yeah,
these
Questioning.
conversations,
Yeah. Thinking
questioning
about the
yeah,
things.
future. Yeah, and that's really important.
That's what it
yeah.
seems a lot of the time with education. It's just because we've always done it this way. And
Mhm.
Mhm.
it's a system that's just perpetuated by
Yeah,
every person
yeah,
that goes through it
Yeah.
because we've always done it like that.
yeah. I'm not saying that writing is obsolete yet
Not
or
at
No,
anything
all.
like that.
No.
I'm just asking the questions as to, is it something that in the future potentially won't be viewed in the same way and potentially not be necessary anymore. I also want to point out one of the other things that you just mentioned, Pam. You were mentioning this thing about video becoming incredibly important and
yeah,
potentially even replacing text to some extent. And I was part of, well, I was probably more the guinea pig. When I went to high school, my teacher was one of the first one in Denmark who used flipped learning,
Sure.
okay.
and it was absolutely mind blowing at the time, and it was amazing as a pupil because what we got a 10-minute video that he had created, speaking about the content of, for
Yeah,
example, a chapter that we otherwise had to have read.
Yeah.
And we got that in just a video format, and it was so good. You could replay it, you could like
yeah,
just rewind, oh, I want to see this point again.
Yep.
And he started every lesson with the same questions. It was like, first of all, it was, have you watched it, have you not watched it? If you haven't watched
yeah,
it, go out and watch it, because else there's no parameter for but anyhow, the
Yeah.
other thing was that then he would then start the lesson with, was there anything we didn't understand from the video?
yes,
And then we would delve into that in the lesson rather than having consumed this text that half the students either didn't read
Yep.
yeah.
or they were half bored by reading. And then of course you had the very, very engaged pupils like myself, um,
Like you, of course.
who would definitely read every letter of it. But it's still, I still think that getting it in that video format, it,
Yeah,
it was a game changer. It made
Yeah.
you much more engaged as a pupil and as a student. You were
Mhm.
like, it was like your homework is to watch a 10-minute video. Okay, no worries, right? Rather than
Sure.
having to read like 10 chapters of various different books.
Mhm.
Yeah, it was a game
that's
changer,
that's
and you
yeah,
understood it
that's
much better.
fascinating. And can I just ask a question? I mean, I'm not diving into how old you are, Taos, but what interests me about this is that you're now a head teacher over here, and you have been for some time, but you're telling this story about flipped learning videos in Denmark when you were a pupil. When was that?
2008.
Yeah,
Yeah, in 2008 we started using flipped learning, or we were introduced to it.
yeah,
But as you may also have seen from my other blog post, is that some of the thing. Oh no, that was not a blog post. It was more my comments on others. Actually, your previous,
Yes.
when I came over here and exams are still happening in like handwritten exams, it's like, what
Mhm.
on earth? Like, since I and this was further back, we didn't have any exams that was handwritten, none whatsoever.
No.
Like even our biology was a multiple choice exam on the computer. Our every exam was
yeah,
was
Uh-huh.
was any written exam were done on the computer. And like I said in my blog post, or my comment on that, is that
Mhm.
it's all, you had to ask for permission almost to get to handwrite. And there was a few, or very few, but
Yeah.
there were a few that chose to do that. But
I
yeah,
love that you called it analog shock as well.
yeah.
I know,
Instead of a culture shock, it was analog
It's
shock.
I
so
know,
true
I know.
though. Oh,
Yeah,
so that is fascinating. So you're coming at this from a unique angle
Mhm.
because you actually remember the impact of video learning, flip learning as a pupil. And
yeah,
yet still in Scotland in 2025, I wouldn't say that was um everywhere, certainly
No.
not even commonplace.
No.
Like It's
No,
just not the way yet, is it? And
it
when
isn't.
in 2008 when you were doing that, I was a lot younger and trying to drive forward digital technology for a local authority. And I was thinking things like flipped learning were just going to happen in the next couple of years. Like naively, I was like, oh, and then in 2010, the iPad came out, and I was like, oh, well, everything's
Here
just
we
going to
go.
change now.
Yeah.
And 15 years on, it's not quite there, is
No.
it?
I remember trying to introduce the idea of flipped learning in one of my previous schools. The system, a current system, is just not set up for it.
No.
Sure.
Homework, for example. Homework is not really a compulsory thing.
No.
So when homework is not a compulsory thing, then how do you ensure that people watch the videos? And then you
Yeah.
spend a lot of time creating video content. And then, so the sort of solution that I had, which is not ideal, but the solution was that we had rotational things in our lessons anyway. So one of the rotations became like, watch this video.
Yeah.
And it meant that I, as a teacher, could almost be with two groups at one time.
Yep.
I could be there in person with one group, and I could
Mhm.
be there in a video format for another group and give the same information. And that worked quite
Yeah.
well.
I've done similar with um, uh, linking it into the not playstations, like stations of play, for
Yeah.
younger classes, where one of those stations we had activity, say it was maths. I'd recorded myself taking part in the activity and the learning and explaining my thinking, asking questions to those watching. And I just
Yeah.
see on YouTube videos, if you right click it, you can loop the video. And I would just loop the video
Yeah.
and just have it on loop so students could come
Yeah.
in, take part in that activity with a digital version of Nile. And although they're not getting that feedback in real time from me, I can then come over once I finish with my group and work with them on that, make sure they're confident, and then come away again. And that
Exactly.
works, like you
Yeah.
said. It's
Yeah,
just
that
thinking
sounds brilliant.
creatively to use the digital tools.
Yeah. And you
Exactly.
don't need
Exactly.
one-to-one devices to do that because the other
No,
activities don't need to be digital,
no,
No.
it's
you know?
literally one
No.
device.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And do you know what I think is really fascinating as well in this tech kind of chat about video is that we just need to think about what we ourselves as adults consume all the hours of the day and what makes us buy products and what makes us
Hmm.
follow people and engage with people. Like what makes us learn? Like
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
video and it's short form video now. It's shorts.
Yeah.
And that like I remember having a chat about this with some sort of local authority people a few years ago, and I was like, really, TikTok is style learning is probably the future.
Micro learning.
Yeah, a guy kind of
Yeah.
lost his mind a wee bit with me briefly at
Yeah.
the very suggestion. But do you think having a small school like you've got in your unique setting, do you think that makes it easier to be creative and flexible in your kind of curriculum delivery as well? Like, or is it more challenging?
Tricky question.
Yeah, it's a great question.
Yeah.
I do think, but there's numerous reasons. I think I was just speaking to Niall just before we actually started about the fact that when I went into being a head teacher, you, as I imagine all head teachers do, they go into it because they think that it gives you the opportunity to make a great change and you have
Yeah.
something to give.
Yeah.
And that was the same attitude I went in with. I
Mhm.
loved developing things. I absolutely had great ideas of how you could visualize things and how you could vision for schools and so on. But when I actually went into it, you got bogged down in bureaucracy, you get bogged
Yeah.
down in paperwork, you get bogged
Yes.
down in
Of course you do.
Data. Yeah.
things that you had to manage. So being in a smaller setting has eliminated some of that. It's not gone,
Hmm.
but it's certainly a lot less.
Mhm.
So that aspect of it has definitely given me the opportunity to be more creative.
Hmm.
I didn't go into the head teacher job because that didn't come as a job description that you had to know how to fix an inverter and chase livestock out of your playground and things like that.
Yeah.
Um, but it does make you more creative, and it's not just in those practical things, but it also makes you creative in your strategic approach to
Yeah.
things.
Sure.
And that's also where some of the digital comes into it, is that you sometimes just have to think out of the box. You have to think about, like, okay, what is the best solution here? How can we in the best possible manner use the tools that we have available to us?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
That's
yes.
fascinating. It just,
Yeah.
in some ways, this is making me want to pitch to the BBC for like, kind of join the most rural school in Scotland or something as like a
Mhm.
docu series. Like, it sounds fascinating. It
Yeah,
really
sounds
does.
amazing.
Yeah.
It must be a real privilege to sort of just be there and be doing
You
that.
mentioned the bureaucracy side of things. How are you finding the kind of paperwork? Are you using digital tools to support you with that? Are you taking inspiration from like your cluster schools? How are you kind of approaching the paperwork side of things?
Probably since came to Scotland, I have used digital technologies to assist me in the paperwork tasks.
Hmm. Definitely Google
I
Sheets.
know Google Sheets was definitely
Definitely.
my go-to tool, and still is probably.
Yeah.
But in my current role as a head teacher, and especially in the role I am in right now, I utilize it all the time.
Yes.
I use, in particular, AI for
Hmm.
almost every task I can get on,
Yeah, me too.
because it's just so, like, why not use the tools that you have available for you?
Yes.
Yeah.
And whether or not, and as I said earlier, like, it all depends on your prompts. As long as your prompts are good, then it's okay. Like, then it's, in my opinion, then you have shown your understanding of it.
Yes.
Um, I love the use of NotebookLM. Like, it's
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
go-to tool.
So cool, eh?
Um, and especially due to the amount of paperwork we get sent as head teachers,
I
there's
can
so
imagine.
much paperwork that you have to
Yep.
consume.
Yeah.
And by being able to just fire it into LM or Notebook LM and compare it, even hear it as a podcast,
Yep.
Podcast, yeah.
like, I don't really do it on my commute because I have 4 minutes walk, but I can use it. I can use it in other times, like,
Yeah.
just download the audio file, right? And then
Yeah.
you can listen to it whenever you've got time to do it. You can consume it, and it's presented in a discussion way,
Hmm.
rather
Yeah.
than in a, here's just the facts after facts
It's
Yes.
brilliant,
fact.
isn't it? Like, it's so
Yeah.
much easier to understand, like,
Hmm.
weighty
Yeah.
documents just when you hear
Yeah.
people chatting about it
Yeah.
casually.
No, what I was going to say was, it's also an amazing self-reflection tool.
Yeah.
Because if you have written something or a policy or something that you want to either give to, like, that's for the school or is for
Hmm.
moderation or whatever it is, get it, like, put it up to LM, upload it, and then you can hear it back and you can hear the discussion points. And if you ask the right prompts again, they can discuss whether or not you have hit the right targets that you wanted to reach, and so on.
Yep.
Wow.
For those things, it's amazing. Like, it's not just a tool to create things or generate things, it's also an incredible self-reflection tool. And a lot of people think, oh, with AI you're not reflecting anyone, you're not, like, thinking
I know.
yourself,
Yeah.
like, it's not you that's thinking. No, that's absolutely not true, in my
Yeah.
opinion, depending
Yeah.
on whether or not you use it correctly. But if you are able to use it correctly, then you have a fantastic tool that will help you
Yeah.
think more creatively and reflectively upon every aspect that you use it for,
I
because it will
agree.
give you the feedback.
Yeah. You've turned this tool into essentially another educator in your school that you can bounce ideas off of. You can get it to summarize, you can get it to reflect on the things that you've created. You've essentially, out of nowhere, built this other educator to support your policies and your the things that you're creating.
Absolutely, and that's I think, for in particular a small school, it's really good to have that, because I
Yeah.
don't really have that much staff to bounce off.
No.
No.
I only have
No.
one other part-time teacher,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and obviously they're only in for half the week. So when
Yeah.
I want to bounce off ideas or I want to generate something, who do I have to speak to? I don't have anyone. So therefore, AI is an obvious choice to go in. And I
It
am well aware that the AI is not a creative person that's sitting
No.
next to me,
Yeah.
but it means that my ideas can be reflected. And as long as my prompts are self-reflective and they are asking the right questions in terms of, for example, if I really want to figure out whether or not it's meeting a certain criteria, then I include that in the prompt.
Yeah.
And then it will give me the answer whether or not I have met that success criteria or not. Or they will say, this is some improvement ideas. This is what we could work towards. This is how you
Yeah.
could do things. And this is where it's important as well. Then it's not saying, okay, can you then generate it? No, instead you go in and say, okay, now I have an idea of what it is that I want to create now.
Yes.
How can I go about doing that?
Yeah.
And that is critical thinking, isn't it? Like that whole what you've just described there, that interaction with an AI is thinking critically at every stage. No, actually, I wanted you to do a bit more of that, a bit less of that, and act a bit more like one of these people.
Yeah.
And it's always just thinking about the job. And as you say, it's like having a collaborator for any task.
Yeah.
It is.
If
It
you
is.
think about it.
Yeah, as long as you remember that AI doesn't have the tool, like it's not capable of being a creative tool. Like
Yeah.
it's not,
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't have a mind to be creative.
No.
But with your prompts and you could say knowledge, but it's probably more information that they can access, then you have a fantastic helping tool that can help you be creative and you being more critical, reflective upon your own practice. And I think a lot of people make the mistake. I've seen this with quite a number of people, not only in education, but also outside education, who are using AI, and they go in and write a prompt and then they get an answer and they're not satisfied with the answer and they say, oh, they can't do it. And I'm like, yeah, but have you
Yeah.
thought about changing your prompt? Have you thought about like
Yeah.
how you have worded it? And
Yes.
sometimes it's simple, small things. It's just the wording of it, or
Yeah.
sentence is slightly off, and then you can get a completely different answer. I remember one of the things was something about Buddhist teachings,
Okay.
and it was a prompt about whether or not it could explain certain teachings.
Okay.
But the prompt was written in a way where it was almost like asking what the AI's opinion of it was.
Okay.
And that was not what they wanted.
No.
So it was a quick fix. Like I just told them to change small, tiny steps, right? Just change the wording so that you summarize, like use the word summarize the teachings. And then came up with the whole lot. And it's just that tiny small details that sometimes we need to become better at, and that's where education comes in and play a vital role, because we can teach the kids to ask these questions, and that is an essential skill in the future. They need to be able to ask these questions.
Yes.
That's a good kind of finishing point, isn't it?
I
That
think so.
idea that
Yeah.
AI skills is actually kind of one of the most essential literacies we need to be educating our children about
Yeah.
right
Start
now,
thinking
isn't it?
about. Yeah, definitely.
Tavs, thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for telling us all about your incredible and unique school up in the Highlands. I mean, I'm pretty sure there will be a lot of listeners who are like, what? What do you mean you don't have any power? Like, it's just brilliant. A truly off-grid education experience. It really is. It must
Massively
be
inspiring.
Yeah,
Yeah,
really
thank you so much
inspiring.
for joining. Also, it's great to catch up and see you again. It's been a number of years, so it is great to see you
It
again.
has, yeah. Well, thank you very much for having me on. It has been a pleasure also speaking to you. And it's sometimes nice to discuss it so that you're not just sitting with it yourself, but you actually hear it said out loud.
Yeah, exactly.
I get that.
And these are the conversations we need to be having. So let's have more of them.
Yeah.
I know. Yeah.
Hit us up with recommendations of anyone else that you think we should have on. I think we need to get, I don't know, Robert Quigley would be good, wouldn't he? If you could
definitely.
manage to get
Robert and
Robert.
Tanya, I think would be fantastic.
Yeah.
Yes.
But yeah, I love having chats with people who are just thinking differently about education, and you most definitely are, Tavs. So it was a great chat. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tavs, for joining us for the Digitize Fully Charged podcast. You can find more episodes on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Podcasts. You can find all of our clips on social media. You can find us at Digitize Crew. Please do. We really appreciate it if you could share the podcast, share episodes that you've enjoyed. Leave us a wee star rating as well. That honestly makes the world of difference to us. We are putting in a ton of work here, and we just really appreciate all the love that we've been shown so far. So thank you so much for all of your shares, likes, comments, ratings. It really does mean so much to us. Join us on Tuesday for another episode of the Digitize Fully Charged podcast. And we'll see you then. Cheers. Bye.